It was a warm June night in 1879, and the streets teemed with the sights and sounds of the industrial age. The daytime noises and acrid smoke emanating from the steel foundries, the cotton and sugar mills, the Grand Trunk railway yards, and the canal had faded away. The streets resonated with the sounds of Irish shopkeepers and tavern owners hawking their wares in their gaslit shops. On William Street, in the heart of the town, many a worker tried to drown the memory of his 14-hour day in cheap whiskey. Near midnight, 3 drunken souls staggered up the steps to a second-floor flat. 23-year-old Susan Kennedy, who by all accounts was well-versed in the ways of the oldest profession, occupied the William Street residency. Accompanying Kennedy were her friend, colleague, and soon-to-be rival, 38-year-old Mary Gallagher, with their latest trick, a young factory worker named Michael Flanagan. The three had met at a small hotel near the Bon Secours market, where Susan and Mary had gone earlier that afternoon in search of a little excitement. The women had polished off 2 bottles of whiskey together before striking up a conversation with the dashing Mr. Flanagan. Eventually the trio made a fateful journey to Susan's house. As the night wore on, the 2 women increasingly vied for the attentions of the handsome Irishman, until it became clear to Kennedy that Flanagan was more interested in her much older friend and a bottle of whiskey than in her own advances. After drinking with Gallagher for about an hour, Flanagan passed out on the floor of the flat, sending Kennedy into an intoxicated, jealous rage. After knocking Mary Gallagher out, she took a hand axe from the kitchen and proceeded to chop off Mary's head in a series of blunt, awkward strokes. After some 10 minutes of hacking, Kennedy disposed of the grisly trophy in a water pail beside the kitchen sink. Police charged Susan Kennedy and Michael Flanagan with the gruesome homicide, but during the trial it became clear that only one pair of hands had wielded the murder weapon. The downstairs neighbor testified that around 12:15 a.m. she'd heard the sound of a body hitting the floor and then 10 minutes of loud chopping. The jury acquitted Michael Flanagan but found Susan Kennedy guilty of the murder. She was sentenced to hang on December 5, 1879. However, Prime Minister John A. Macdonald commuted the sentence in light of evidence presented at the trial, and Kennedy spent 16 years in prison instead. She died in 1916. Clearly, Mary Gallagher found no peace through justice, since she appears doomed to return eternally to the site of her death. As years passed, the legend grew of her headless form, returning every 7 years to wander about the district in search of her head. Today, the haunted area is a vacant lot on the southeast corner of William and Murray Street, but people still gather on the anniversary of her murder to see if they will catch a sight of the headless specter.
And scene. Sure you don't need extra? But people are probably like, what is that usually wearing like a hat? What is one hat? Usually wear their baseball hats. Are you chilling?
Yeah, I know that you wanna be Canadian, please. Even if winter things turn to freeze, we got the world monopoly on trees, and our country's border got 3 different seas.
Yeah, I know that you wanna be Canadian, please. We invented the zipper. We got it.